They've done what they can here. Meier has turned over all his material, but he has one more surprise in store.
Well, we want to thank you for all your time and trouble.
Oh, yeah. Okay, just a moment, wait.
Hey?
I have here something.
Oh.
Here.
What's this?
Metal samples.
Metal samples?
Yeah.
Where did you get these?
I got it from Symbiose, and she brought them from Era.
Are they extraterrestrial?
Yeah.
Metal samples. The kind of hard evidence Stevens had hoped for.
We got the Vogel tape in.
Great.
Back in Phoenix, the investigators begin to sort out the massive material Meier gave them. There are hundreds of photographs, the 8mm films, sound tapes of the beam ships and the fragments of metal. They know they will have to call in scientists from a variety of fields to help assess the evidence. The task appears monumental.
Thanks, hon.
Tom, what about you?
Yeah, I'll have one too.
Okay.
They decide to check the photos first. If these are fake, the rest doesn't matter.
Here we have our image. The ground is below. We'll place this on the platen, emulsion side up, in order to focus on the emulsion.
The first step involves translating the photographic image into digital information, the language computers can read.
We can start this machine from the point which it is at now and scan 500 lines, 500 points per line, at a very small aperture, and watch the result of this scan being placed, digital information, keep in mind, onto a display. All right, over here on our display, we can observe what the densitometer is doing.
This microdensitometer is the same one used to help analyze the photos beamed back from space by the U.S. Pioneer mission.
And tell it that we want to go 5 microns between each pixel. It will be digitizing a ½ centimeter square, scanning the first lines.
The digital information will be sent on for an analysis that will take weeks to complete. Meanwhile, Welch and the elders decide to learn what they can of the history of UFO experiences.
But can you give us some more background on this phenomenon? What is this all about?
Well, it's not a new thing, Lee. This thing's been going on for a long time.
How many sightings have there been?
One of the researchers calculated that there may be as many as 70,000 reports in a year worldwide.
Is there anything these sightings have in common?
Okay, there are some common things commonly reported. First of all, they're always accidental. UFO pictures, up to this point at least, are accidental. They happen once and they're gone.
Is there anywhere that they show up more than other areas?
Here's some stuff here that began way back. These are documented cases. Some of these are even classics. Photographs. Here's one from Argentina. But this whole thing is full of them. This one is full of them. That's full of them. All of those are full of such cases.
In Stevens' files are over 3,500 photographs of UFOs, some from early in this century. Most were single sightings, some observed by several people at the same time. In Perry, Ohio, the whole town watched a UFO at twilight for 30 minutes. In Brazil, a Navy photographer took a series of photos of a UFO flying over his vessel. Observers at NASA have spotted UFOs at our space launches. Tientsin, China, Woonsocket, Rhode Island, Norway, Corsica, Japan, New Jersey. These are among the sightings that are reported. No one can guess how many go unreported.
They're pretty much all over the world. I don't think you could pick out a single place and say that there are more UFO sightings there than any other place. It's a worldwide phenomena, and primitives as well as advanced societies all view them and they see the same things.
What's the public's reaction been to all of this?
Well, there was a poll made about 3 years ago, I think, where they asked the question, I think the question was, how many people believe that UFOs exist? And this has been a progressive thing. It's been growing. And the last one showed something like 65% of the American population believes that UFOs exist.
Why don't they contact our national leaders and land someplace like on the White House lawn?
I'm not sure that national leaders haven't been contacted. There is some indication that various world leaders, even church leaders, have been contacted.
Mary, do you have that file that we had on spectrographic analysis that we did? Oh, yeah, Tom, it's
As
right
the
here.
investigation continues, results from the testing begin to come in to the Intercept office in Phoenix.
Hey, Lee.
Hey, Tom, what's up?
Just got this back. We sent this photograph over to Neil Davies. Just got his report back.
Neil Davis.
Physicist, aerospace industry subcontractor.
Right, okay, got it.
Examined the photograph with microdensitometer. Also, these you're seeing here are the black and white color separations that he did, and let's see what the results were here. Examination of these plots did not reveal any details which would cast doubt upon the authenticity of the photograph. And there's more. Color copy negatives, color separation. Nothing was found to indicate a hoax. And his conclusion is even more interesting. Let's see, black specks. Nothing was found in the examination of this print which could cause me to believe that the object in the photo is anything other than a large object photographed at distance from the camera.
Meier reported 6 different configurations of Pleiadian beam ships. Davis analyzed what the investigators designated as Variation 2. Variation 3 now goes to computer analyst Jim Dilatoso.
This is the new picture that we digitized last week using the microdensitometer. We transferred it over to floppy disk here. Let's look at the first map in low-pass filtering.
Why these particular colors on the screen? What are we seeing?
I mapped it in such a way that the real colors are not what we're seeing, but one shade of a color that's really similar to another one, like 2 shades of red, are in high contrast so that we can really see the difference.
I see. Have you found any anomalies yet? Of any kind? Anything
I find strange things, but nothing that would tell me that someone's tampered with the pictures.
I see. Nothing indicating a hoax method or indicating superimposition or anything like that?
Nothing that I can find.
Have you been working on the grain at all yet?
Yeah, I have.
Well, what are we seeing here?
What we're seeing here is that the film grain holds up the way that it should. In the pixel distortion test, it appears to me and to the computer that this object was photographed in the same original piece of film at the same time that the background was photographed. In other words, no overlay. I would say these pictures are genuine.
Extrapolating from Meier's accounts, Dilatoso programs the computer to duplicate the lights Meier observed on the craft. At the moment, he has no explanation for their apparent rotation.
Mary, any calls?
Yes, Steve called. He's at home, and you're to call CRQ.
CRQ. Okay. Call Steve. Tell him I'll get back to him in about an hour. I'll take care of this now.
Okay.
Hey, Lee, look what I got here.
Stevens has more news.
We got a report back from Shellman. Sound analysis.
He had sent the sound tapes Meier took of the craft to Robin Shellman, specialist in sound
He found some very
identification.
interesting things. He found some things we didn't hear on there.
Such as?
Well, he picked up, besides the basic sound, he picked up a small dog barking. Of course, we could hear him. He picked up a European police siren. We never heard that. He picked up a crow cawing.
Wait a minute. How in the hell does he pick all this stuff up? How does he
They've
determine the sound?
got a sound bank back there that they match sounds in. They can identify known sounds.
Okay, on this sound bank of his, anything there to match it?
We have
He said he can't match the basic sound. He can match all of the other sounds on the tape, but he can't match the sound of the object itself, the emitted sound. Now look at this. He's concluded up to this point that the machine must have been built for a specialized application. Recognizing the sounds from such a machine may be difficult. Also,
Later, Shellman will theorize from the sounds what those specialized applications might be.
to about 4 hertz.
Picked an area here that
Next, Stevens takes the metal fragments to be examined under the electronic spectrometer to determine their
a typical
components.
looking area in the sample.
Preliminary examination of the metal has been done in Switzerland.
And we've got the little marker bars here that we can line up on each peak as they come up. This one indicates we have silver there. Over here, let's see. We've got some copper, small amount of copper.
It looks like about all that's in here at the moment.
The big band here is silver, though.
The big one is silver.
Later analysis of other fragments also reveals small amounts of thulium, a rare earth element that is difficult and costly to extract here.
This is one of the...
Because of the unusual nature of the findings, the fragments are given to chemist Marcel Vogel, an expert in crystalline structures and inventor of many substances used in computer components.
The first specimen I looked at is a metal specimen, which I classified as F1. This is the appearance that it looked at, rather golden colored on one side, silvery colored here. We find that in truth it is silver and a small amount of copper. We look at it here, this same area here, under polarized light. What is unusual of this small specimen is both highly crystalline nature, and suddenly we come to a metal section as we see here, and it showed a combination of metals that I've not encountered in any normal bit of metallurgy, both crystalline deposits and metal. Now, we, with any technology that I know of, could not achieve this on this Earth plane. I could not explain the type of material that I have and its discreteness by any known combination of materials. I could not put it together myself as a scientist. It's also a challenge because I showed it to one of my friends who was a metallurgist, and he shook his head. He said, I don't see how it can be put together. And we find that in this area there is evidence of machining, that there are striations which look like the sample has been worked mechanically. It doesn't look like anything that we've made here. At this moment, I would feel very much inclined to accept what was given to me as being true.
Always security conscious, the investigators hold key discussions outdoors to prevent eavesdropping. As the work piles up, they meet to assess progress and problems.
And that is, we've got a company back here and an intercept clientele, a pretty heavy clientele. What are they going to be thinking about these hard-nosed investigators running around chasing flying saucers?
Tom, it's an investigation, and it's a good investigation.
No matter whether you're doing a murder one investigation or industrial espionage, you still have the basic criteria that you follow, investigative procedures. And I think if we maintain those type of procedures, I think we can control this situation.
There's one thing that we haven't thought about. Eventually, somebody is going to come to us and say, have you ever tested these people? Have you ever tried to find out if they're lying? Have you used psychological stress evaluation? Have you used lie detection?
Yeah.
Will Billy go for that?
Oh, sure. I think Billy will go for it. He's been open with us all the way through. I don't think he'll stop at this point. Well, Steve, we've got another problem. We've put a lot of time and effort into this case already. We don't know when it's going to terminate.
Well, I want you along. I want to do a real investigation on this, and I want real investigators.
Well, what do you guys think?
I think we should go for it.
Okay, let's hope he's for real.
Look, physicists say they're all hoaxes. I've been at this for 20 years. If this is a hoax, there are no real cases.
The decision made, the team presses on. Computer analyst Jim Delatoso has some new findings to show Welsh.
Let's go back and look at this picture again and get some information about the edges. I've discovered this interesting program for measuring the edges of things and comparing it to all the other edges in the pictures.
Based on the relationship of those edges?
The width of the edges and the properties in the edges. So we're stretching the data in the edges so we can count how many pixels wide it is. And it's very interesting what happens when you stretch them out, because it becomes very clear. Pixels, these little squares, like building blocks, and pretty easy to count. 6, 7. So this one ranges from 5 to 7 pixels wide, this edge. So we have our range here is from 6 to 8. Now, what this tells us in looking at all of the edges on the object is, first of all, that it's not a flat piece of plywood hung in the air, or it's not a paste-up that was done. It actually has shape to it. And in this case, a very wide range, which has to do with focus. Some of the object is more in focus than other parts of the object, which tells me right off at that point that we're dealing with something of size to it.
With all the data they have amassed, the investigators have also come up with a lot of new questions. While they debate the necessity for another trip to Switzerland, a sudden crisis jolts them into a decision. There has been a phone call from Meier. Halfway between Phoenix, where the intercept offices are located, and Tucson, where Stevens lives, a spire of rock rises out of the desert floor. Part of the rim of a long-extinct volcano, Picacho Peak is noted locally as the site where the last battle of the Civil War was fought. It is here that Lee Elders and Stevens meet, when necessary, again, far from curious ears. This time, Elders brings a disturbing message, one that will add a new urgency to their work.
Hey, Lee, what's up?
Hey, Steve, how are you?
Good. What's going on?
Oh, God, we've got some problems.
Problems?
Yeah, I just talked to Billy today, and someone tried to kidnap his daughter.
What? Nina?
Nina, right.
God.
Billy got there in time. It was two men. They were in a car. They used a knife. They tried to force her into the car.
What about Nina? Is she all right?
She's fine. No problems. He fired at one of them, and they escaped. No, they haven't identified any of them yet. The police are working on it, as I understand it.
This happens to people. We've had it happen before. Other cases.
We're going to set up some security measures over there. Get a trail on these people.
And I agree. We got to do something to take the energy out of this.
Yeah, we do. We're going to go back. You want to go?
When can we go?
Very soon.
New additions to the farmyard since their last visit include a pair of peacocks whose raucous squawks make them as effective guards as the farm geese. There are new photos, too, and more film. In some, the beam ship hovers by a tree. Meier says they use trees as a kind of magnetic ground. Two or more ships in the same shot are almost unheard of in UFO photos. Meier has dozens of such pictures. Ships below a horizon line, such as a hill, are even rarer. In this photo, a Variation 2 ship controls a smaller unmanned drone ship, designated as Variation 5. In one demonstration, a Variation 3 ship exhibits a behavior Stevens has seen before.
We have often reported a nipping flight. We also have a wobbling flight, where it wobbles around a vertical axis.
The bobbing effect, Meier explains, is due to the ship riding the waves of the Earth's magnetic field, much as a boat on the ocean. When Meier is about to have a contact, he receives a cooling sensation on his forehead. The communication is telepathic. He prepares carefully. He is usually taken aboard the beam ships, but is unable to describe their interiors very well. There are no words, he says. Apparently, they are totally unfamiliar. The gun is a precaution, due to the threats on his life. The hat is a favorite, one he picked up on his travels in the Middle East. The tattoo he received during a brief stint as a sailor. He dresses well because he can be gone for hours and the weather in these mountains changes constantly. The walkie-talkie is a necessity because he is often left far from where he parked the bike and must call to be picked up.
Billy, this is a psychological stress evaluation test, better known as PSE. What we're going to do is ask you some questions. You'll answer yes or no. We will tape these questions. The tape will go back to the United States. At that time, we'll test it through a computer to measure your micro tremors in your voice. It's like a lie detector test.
Yeah.
Would you agree to doing this?
Go on, start it.
Okay, first question. Is your name Edward Meier?
Yes.
Could you speak a little louder, please?
Yes.
Are you wearing a shirt?
Yes.
Do you live in Switzerland?
Yes.
Have you taken photographs of Palladian spacecraft?
Yes.
Do you ride your moped?
Yes.
Do you receive your mail at Schmidt-Rudy?
Yes.
Did you fake the photographs taken at Ober-Sadeleg with a model suspended, wait till the answer, or wait till the question is finished, suspended by a string?
No.
Let's do that one more time, okay? Wait till I finish. Do you live in Switzerland?
Yes.
The tape is taken back to be analyzed by Bob Phelan, a former criminal investigator with the Sheriff's Department of Colorado and a specialist in lie detection.
Was also a yes answer. Number 3, do you live in Switzerland? Yes, he lives in Switzerland. There's enough stress here to indicate that probably isn't where he prefers to live, or he's lived someplace else. Question 4 was the first relevant question you asked him, is have you taken the photographs of spacecraft? His answer was yes. He's being extremely forceful, though not deceptive. And my opinion on that particular question is that he's being as truthful as possible. Number 7 was the second relevant question you asked him, and he answered right on top of the question. And the person asking the question had asked him to answer the question again, and then he asked the question again. The stress levels between the two diminished the second time that the question was asked, which is not indicative of deception, because stress builds in a deceptive pattern. It doesn't diminish. If it was a deceptive answer, the stress would then increase, not decrease. Now, something was extremely interesting to me was the 8th question you asked him on, do you drink coffee? And for some reason, he's more stressful on the statement about coffee than he is about the picture of the spacecraft.
Yeah, that makes sense, because about 3 days before we tested Meier, he promised his wife he'd stop drinking coffee, but we noticed he'd been sneaking a few occasionally.
Okay, that could probably be the account for it then.
Phelan reviews the tape several times. He could find no evidence of deception in the statements about Meier's experiences. Much of Meier's film has been lost or stolen, but the remaining sequences are, as promised, the most astonishing ever released. In one demonstration, the beam ship flies around a tree, which can be seen to sway in the backwash. Once again, in slow motion. Even slower. Later, Semyasi brings a new beam ship to pose for Meier's cameras. A variation quite unlike anything he has seen before. She explains, as best he can understand it, the function of the spheres for propulsion of the craft in interstellar travel. The sound of the new beam ship shows marked differences to the sounds of the other variation craft. Meier tapes these as well. The tapes are taken to electronics consultant Niels Rognerud and sound engineer Steve Ambrose for examination.
We have two pieces of equipment. One measures the signal we're listening to in the time domain, the top one here. And the bottom one is measuring the frequency components of the signal.
Yeah, what does this mean when they're all together like that?
What you have is you have many tones happening at the same time, and right now they're aligned. Now they're disaligning. They're out of alignment. They're very much out of alignment. Now they're starting to centralize on one. It's not as though maybe before you had 10 different frequencies at random and then all of a sudden 9 dropped out and you only had 1 left. What's happening is the 10 different frequencies are converging on one central frequency, which is, I find, very interesting. This is probably one of the most interesting things about the tape is that there are
What's this right now?
very, very many tones.
Yeah.
And they're all changing very fast.
For a moment there, we were looking in and we had 3 evenly spaced frequencies. See it there again?
I got them again.
Yeah.
Niels, would it be possible to recreate this sound?
To be honest with you, I personally don't think so. There are not synthesizers on the market that have oscillators that change that randomly. Even if you got 9 or 10 of them going, they wouldn't change from those peaks that quickly.
So a significant thing is this rate of change.
Well, and besides, if you were going to create a noise for a spaceship, you'd be hard put to come up with something as original as this. There's another alignment there.
Okay, Lee, what we can do here is...
Intrigued by the findings, Lee Elders takes the tape to Robin Shellman, who has studied the sounds of the earlier craft.
We're showing this throbbing, modulating beat that we hear on the tape. This beat, or modulation, occurs at these frequency peaks. Each one of these peaks is a discrete frequency. If you wanted to give a visual display, let's say we're talking a motor. Could be a motor, a shaft of a motor with 4 magnetic poles or coils around this shaft. The curious thing about this, it changes from 4 to 5, 6, 7, all the way up to a number that is difficult to discern. At a certain point, you're going to generate a certain amount of magnetism. And then later on, you want a stronger field, well, you're going to select 8 fields. All right, now you're going to hear 8 pulses on the tape. And then later on, you want a stronger field, you can select 16, 32.
Is there anything unusual about this?
I would think it's highly unusual. I don't really see any application for it, with the exception of, like I say, either generating a magnetic wave of some sort for laboratory purposes or maybe in this case, propulsion.
Without ever having seen a picture of the new beam ship, Shellman has drawn a representation of the spheres and offered an explanation of their function.